Today's lesson, 4.2, we're going to look at the circumference of a circle. The distance around a circle is called the circumference. You can see the circumference here is represented by the red circle that goes all the way around. It's also represented by the letter C, C for circumference. Circumference is like the perimeter, or how far you go around an object. Well, sometimes you're used to seeing the perimeter on a square or a rectangle. We're going to be looking at it now as the perimeter of a circle, but we're going to call it specifically the circumference. So if you can look at the picture on the board here, we talked about diameter and radius in a previous lesson. The radius goes halfway across the circle from the midpoint to the outside of the circle. The diameter in purple here, represented by D, goes through the middle of the circle, through the point from side to side. It's the longest distance across a circle. And the circumference, again, is the red circle that goes all the way around. The diameter is a straight line across the middle. The circumference is the entire way around the outside of a circle. So, what is the relationship between circumference and diameter? Well, if you divide the circumference of a circle by its diameter, so if you divide the outside number by the length of the diameter, you get approximately 3. Now, it's not exactly 3, however. When you divide the circumference by the diameter, you end up with the number 3.14159. So on and so on and so on. The number continues. The number never repeats, it never terminates or ends, and it cannot be made into a fraction. Most of you have probably heard of this number before, but what is that number called? Well, pi, or 3.14, or this little symbol right here. That symbol represents pi. You've probably seen it before, and whenever you see that, you will automatically understand that that stands for pi, and that pi is equal to 3.14. So, in order to find the circumference of a circle, we multiply the diameter by pi, or the circumference is equal to pi multiplied by the diameter. But again, because the diameter is 2 radii, you can also write it as the circumference is equal to pi multiplied by 2 radii. Okay? So that shouldn't be anything new, the diameter and the radii relationship. But to find the circumference of a circle, we multiply the diameter by pi, or we multiply the diameter by pi, or we multiply 2 radii by pi. So if we were to have a circle, again, this is a crude drawing. And if we have our diameter across the middle, and we have our circumference, or however far the red is, actually, the red would be our circumference because it is the entire distance around the outside of the line. If we were to multiply our diameter by 3.14, we would get our circumference. So let's try one. Let's say that in this case, the diameter is equal to 4 centimeters. We come over to our equation, and we can see that if we replace pi for 3.14, because as we said in our other slide, pi is equal to 3.14. And we know that over here, our diameter is 4. We have 2 numbers next to each other, and now, without any sign between them, so it means multiply. 3.14 multiplied by 4 is equal to 12 and 56/100 centimeters. So that means if you were to take anything, a piece of string or a measuring tape, and go all the way around and measure the red and purple line there, it would equal 12.56 centimeters. Now we can also use this equation to find out what our diameter is. Let's say, for instance, that we knew what the circumference was. Let's say that, I'm just going to fix this up here. Let's say that we knew that our circumference was 40 centimeters, but we didn't know what our diameter was. We could still use this equation to figure that out. We're just no longer replacing the d with a number, we're replacing the c, or the circumference. So we know that the circumference is 40 centimeters. We know that pi is equal to 3.14, but we don't know what the letter d is, or what that number is yet. So we need to figure that out. This is just like basic algebra. We see that this is multiplication. So we have to solve for d. We need to get it by itself. To get rid of 3.14 multiply, you divide by 3.14 on both sides. 40 divided by 3.14 is 12.74 centimeters. These cancel each other out, leaving you just with d. So on both ways, we have been able to figure out the circumference when we have the diameter, and you can also find out the diameter when you have the circumference. So what I would like you to do, here are two questions for you to try on your practice. Okay, what is the circumference of a circle when where the radius is 7? So you're going to be finding what the circumference is. Circumference is equal to pi times diameter. So in this case, over here on this circle, you have your diameter and you have your pi, but you do not have your circumference. And on this other question, they're asking you for something different. What is the diameter of a circle when the circumference is 24 centimeters? So now you have your circumference. You have your circumference and you have pi, but now you're solving for your diameter. Try both of those questions, and we'll go over them in class.